What's up everybody, Alex here, and today we've got the Dota Underlords best 5 builds of the new meta that I am dubbing the Demon Hunter meta, and you're going to see why in just a moment. The first build that I've got you for today I call Assassin Terror, and what you have is the Anti-Mage and the Terror Blade. Terror Blade positioned at the back with your assassins. Hopefully you want the Terror Blade to have your Blink Dagger. That'll allow him to metamorphosis faster and get into the back line along with your assassins and really wreak some havoc. If he doesn't have a Blink Dagger, you can move him up strategically wherever might be best. But ideally what you want here is you're starting with a few early units. All my builds in this strategy guide, they basically are consistent all throughout the game. You're using units that you find early so that you can get them to 2 and 3 stars, and you can keep them the entire game. So basically Tiny is essential in this build because with the assassins, what you want to do is you want to crowd control the opposing team. So Tiny is going to basically, his stun is going to allow Slark and Phantom Assassin, who hopefully have Masks of Madness, to basically just wreak havoc on your opposition. Treant Protector and Nature's Prophet, basically they're the meat shields. They're essentially giving you the opportunity to kind of hold that front line. And Anti-Mage, what you want to do with Anti-Mage, he's going to go down pretty fast, but you want to move him depending on where your opposition has some of their heavy hitters. For instance, if you're in the top 2 or 3 and you know that there's a Kunkka over here, you're going to want to position Anti-Mage with the Kunkka so that he can burn the Kunkka's mana and prevent the Ghost Ship from being cast. Same from, if it's a Tide Hunter or whatever it is. Move Anti-Mage around in order to kind of, do some damage and prevent spells from being cast. This is overall a great build. It's super balanced. The Demon Hunter bonus that's currently being offered in the game is absolutely just fantastic. It creates an opportunity for Terror Blade to do a ton of damage. Mirana's pretty good as well because Mirana's going to be bouncing around with her hop, so it keeps her a little mobile. But really, the real stars will be Terror Blade, Slark, and your PA here. They're going to do a ton of damage, and overall, this is a very strong build, and you're going to find a lot of success with it. Build number 2, I'm calling Demon Hunting Hunters, and what you've got, once again, you have Terror Blade and Anti-Mage. If you have a Terror Blade with a Blink Dagger, you can move them. But I'm assuming you don't have a Blink Dagger for this build here. And what we have here is we have Tiny and Tide Hunter and Pudge. That's a lot of meat up front with an armor bonus as well, and what you're going to get is a lot of stuns. The idea here is you want to create a lot of stuns, and Tiny and Tide Hunter are going to do that. Depending on the enemy team composition and their positioning, you can actually rotate these two a little bit like this as well. Remember, Tiny's going to throw a unit. Tide Hunter's going to stun in his immediate vicinity, so it's entirely possible that you might have to move these two around depending on the positions of your opponents. Essentially, what you want is Drow Ranger back here. Drow Ranger is going to be supplying a boost of speed to all your ranged attackers, Wind Ranger and Sniper. Anti-Mage, once again, you can move to kind of strategically go against Kunkkas and Tide Hunters as well. Lycan, you might be thinking, hey, Lycan, that's a weird spot for Lycan. I position him here to start simply because we want to protect this back line. If you have enemy assassins, which are a little more popular in this the latest build, you want someone who can kind of put up a bit of a guard for your Sniper, Wind Ranger, and Drow. If you have them up here and assassins come here, they're going to absolutely mow through Wind Ranger, Drow, and Sniper, and you're going to have no DPS, you're going to lose. So it's almost worth having Lycan here. If you got a Boots of Speed, it's perfect, but, if someone ports back here, Lycan can defend a little bit. You can even do something like this with Pudge. The only problem is with Pudge is he's going to pull someone here, and you don't want him pulling into your weakest units, so you can be clever with it, but realistically, Lycan I find works best here, and he'll just run up when the opportunity arises. It's a really balanced build. Terror Blade's going to transform with, once again, the Demon Hunter synergy here. You got warriors here protecting kind of your front line. You can even, again, you can make some modifications to the build as well. This still works, right? Be smart with your positioning. Take a look at what your opposition's doing, and go from there. One thing I will say is if you're at level 10, for instance, someone that works well with this build is our good friend, the Gyrocopter. So you could bring Gyrocopter in here, protect him with Tiny. I would actually kind of prefer to do this if I had a Gyrocopter. But anyways, this is the way if you got to level 10, this is how you'd maximize that. Sniper and Gyrocopter can do a ton of damage. Whoops. Never mind, let me go from there. Lycan should be on the outside there. This is a great build here, and I hope you find success with this. Build number 3 is Bloodbound Terrors, and you can kind of see why. Once again, we have our Anti-Mage and Terrorblade. Terrorblade positioned here because hopefully you got a Blink Dagger. If not, right, you might want to move him about here, maybe there. You want him to stay up, but you don't want him to die. Ideally, you want him to have a Blink Dagger. You want him to transform very quickly. You have 2 level 1 Warlocks here, and if you're not at level 10, you can have just 1 Warlock. It's fine, but let's just assume you're at level 10 or 9. 1 or 2 Warlocks up front, Treant Protector and Ogre Magi. Ogre Magi, you don't want to sack right away. A lot of people would have done this. They would have put Ogre Magi up front, let him die right away. I actually suggest that you leave him here. The reason for that is because Ogre Magi's Bloodlust has been buffed very significantly. In the early game, you're going to want to be picking up Ogre Magi. He's going to carry you to many wins in the early game, simply because his Bloodlust will give such a huge DPS boost to someone like Anti-Mage that other units won't be able to cast their spells, and Anti-Mage is just going to rip through the early game. So Ogre Magi and Anti-Mage are a great early game combination. And then what you have here is as your Bloodbound units die, you're looking for the big time contracts for Terrorblade. That's the one problem with this strategy, right? You're really banking on the pull of the big time contracts. If you don't get that item, this is kind of a weaker strategy, right? You'll have to transition out of it, but if you do get big time contracts, this is an absolutely lethal build. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets nerfed. And what you're going to do is you're going to have Sand King doing the stuns up front because you need some stuns. Terrorblade's going to be doing a ton of damage. And once again, Slark and PA, which are absolutely phenomenal assassins. It's very balanced here. You have some elusiveness. You have assassins, which work great for Slark and the PA. And again, Savage, which works great for kind of applying some of the bleeding effect. You can also do something, you know, if you have 2 Blink Daggers, you can also blink your Enchantress in, just so she can get a heal up to keep your assassins up a little later. But overall, this is a pretty strong build as well. I'm actually going to be doing a strategy guide on this video. I'll link it above when I'm done. But honestly, it's a great build. It's a little RNG reliant with the item pull, but if you get that item pull, man, I'm telling you, Terrorblade's gonna be doing like 10k damage a round. It's unbelievable. Alright, so for the last 2 builds, I wanted to move away from the Anti-Mage and the Terrorblade. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of variety here. And what we've got here is the Brawny Hunters. And what you've got is you have your Brawny units that you're going to be picking up. So Beastmaster and Axe, you want to pick them up nice and early, hopefully within the first 3 rounds, just so that you can kind of build up that kill streak and the kill bonus, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to start building Hunters. And with the Hunters, what you're going to do is you're going to position them just like this in a box. Kunkka is going to be awesome because he's going to provide a stun effect for your hunters to do their DPS. Tusk is going to give you the ability to apply some bleeding damage along with Lycan and his wolves. Overall, it's just a really balanced build. And as you can see here, with the Brawny effect being applied, you're going to have Beastmaster on the edge, protecting Mirana, Sniper, Wind Ranger, and Drow. Tusk is pretty tanky on his own. And then you have Kunkka and Axe, all of which are warriors. So a pretty good defensive line here to protect your DPS units, and Lycan here is going to be doing a ton of damage with his Savage buff. Overall, this is a very, very solid build, very straightforward. All these units are readily available. You're not seeing Drow picked up in many builds right now. Mirana's not getting picked up in many builds. Sniper's not. Generally speaking, people are staying away from Hunters, but this build is strong. I've had a lot of success with this build, and I hope you do too. And realistically, as Kunkka also will allow for a percentage chance to silence the opposing units, and his stun, the Ghost Ship, is going to allow your DPS to work wonders. I'm often asked, Alex, what is simply like the easiest build to do? I'm new to this game. What do I do? And you know what? Nothing is more straightforward and effective as Knights and Mages. Now, what you got in front of you here is a very effective build and composition featuring Knights and Mages. And this positioning is as straightforward as it gets. Boxed in the corner, you're going to have Puck, Maiden, and Lina. They're your primary DPS here. You're going to be so shocked at how much DPS Puck does. I tell you, Puck is an absolute machine, especially if you can get the cooldown reduction item, the Octarine on him. And Abaddon takes a ton of damage up front. Omni Knight does way more damage than people give him credit for. His heal does act as AoE damage as well. Bad Rider's nice and early. Him and Chaos Knight you can get the first couple rounds. And Luna just carries in the late game, especially with a Mask of Madness. Maiden, is now a tier 3 unit, but guess what? You only need Maiden at 2 stars really to be effective, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Lena is now 2 stars and Lena is now 2 gold, and it's very easy to get Lena to 2 stars, even 3 stars. People just don't pick Lena, and the nice thing about Lena is in the late game, you can actually transition from Lena over to Keeper of the Light. And you know what's great about that? It is the same synergies here. Okay, nothing's changed. You still have your human synergy, right? A 44% chance, which is a very significant chance to silence for 4 seconds. You have the dragon synergy, so your Dragon Knight's going to be transforming and doing a ton of damage as well. And nothing's changed, and you're doing 40% more damage because you're mages. That helps Puck and the Keeper of the Light. This is honestly a fantastic build. These are units that you get all throughout the game that transition very well into the late game. And you know what? It's very straightforward. Pick all the knights and pick these 4 mages. Lena, Keeper of the Light can be obviously interchanged. Keeper of the Light is certainly better in the late game. Lena's better in the early game, obviously, because she's easier to attain. But this is a very straightforward build that you can find a lot of success with. I'm actually going to be doing a full strategy guide, a full beginner's guide on it. I'll link it above when it's ready. But this is a very effective build. I hope that this guide helped you, and a special heartfelt thank you to all my subscribers. I hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful day.